Good morning. This is the AFCON Daily Show on Citi TV. It's the start of another week. The AFCON hasn't ended, and there's even more excitement as the competition gets closer and closer and closer to the final bits. This is the AFCON Daily Show on Citi TV, show proudly brought to us by Bet Power. My name is Nathan Kwao. Now, if you are a punter or you love to bet or you want to bet, visit Bet Power's website. See the great games they have for you, great collection of matches for you to bet on, and then you get the best odds and, of course, the biggest payout. So Bet Power, that's where you should go if you are a punter and you want to walk away with loads and loads of cash in this season. We all need money, trust me, we all need money. So if you can get some money off Bet Power, be very, very happy. Bet Power, they are the sponsors of this show. Many thanks for joining us. We'll run the rule over an exciting quarterfinal serving in the AFCON. Drama, and more drama. And if anybody had anything bad to say about African football, I'm sure their notes have been revised because of the AFCON. So we'll run the rule over that. We'll talk about all the games, pick out all the interesting high points. We'll get to the Zoom as well. Speak to some very good friends of ours who are witnessing the action in different ways. All of that between now and the end of the show. Of course, your thoughts and comments are welcome. So send us those comments on the WhatsApp number on your screen, and we'll gladly read as many of those comments as possible. We'll take a very, very quick break. When we come back, my guests are ready. We will unpack the show. It's the AFCON Daily Show on Citi TV. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. This is the AFCON Daily Show on Citi TV. My name is Nathan Kwao. Once again, the show is brought to us by Bet Power. Of course, you're also watching us on DSTV channel 363, GoTV channel 182 if you're watching us on that band or via that method. And you're also watching us on terrestrial, free-to-air, and all of that. Let me welcome my guys. Edwin Kwakofi is here. Edwin, how are you doing?
Good,
it's nice to see you here after some of these predictions went out of the window. We'll talk about that. Kwame Nimbafu is back. Kwame, how are you doing?
Hi, Nathan. I'm fine. How are you?
I'm all right. Interesting weekend.
Yes.
On a very different tangent. Man United won.
Yes.
So we are all happy. We are all happy.
We are all not happy. I have to say that.
It's fine. It's okay. Maybe later we'll talk about all of those things. But let's get into the AFCON Daily Show. So, like we said, over the weekend was quarterfinal weekend in the 2023 AFCON. 8 teams were involved in 4 matches, and out of those 4 matches, 1 team each was supposed to have booked a ticket to the semi-final. We'll get into, of course, we all know who's made the semi-final. For those who missed out, we'll take game by game, or we'll take it game by game, and then dissect the game just to let you understand how it is that Nigeria went through, and South Africa went through, and Cote d'Ivoire went through, and DR Congo as well. So we start off with, in terms of our hop around, Angola. Nigeria, 2013 winners of the AFCON, 3-time winners. They are hoping to make it a 4th. Now, to stay on course, they had to beat the Angolans, and they did in their game that was played over the weekend. Let's enjoy the highlights. All right, so Nigeria beating Angola by a 1-0. Ademola Lookman, that's his 3rd goal of the competition?
Yes.
3rd goal of the competition. The ex-Fulham player now plays his football in Italy for Atalanta, guiding the Super Eagles to their semi-final. So Nigerians are on course. They say they want to equal Ghana's haul of 4, and they are on course. 1 or 2 more wins, and then they'll be 4-time African champions, tied with Ghana. You can imagine the unimaginable levels of banter that will be unleashed on the internet should Nigeria win their 4th start. I know lots of Ghanaians are praying against it. As for us here, we are only doing our work. Whether they win or lose, well, we'll talk about that. Anyway, guys, thoughts on this one? Kwame, let me start off with you.
I already told you how I feel about Nigeria. I told you I'm not looking forward to Nigeria qualifying. In fact, we saw from the game, they've had a formula working for them. Jose Pizarro has found a way. He's found a tactical approach. They are not flamboyant. They are just efficient. Trying to get the job done based on the setup that they've got. Like we've discussed throughout this AFCON Daily Show. When you look at the Nigerian side, they are top heavy, meaning they have a very good attack. Mm-hmm. However, they've compensated that with a lot more balance between the midfield and the attack. That's why after the first game, of which they didn't look too bad, they moved from the 4-3-3 formation that they were playing to a 3-back system just to get Ola Aina and then the left back or the left wing back in there to be able to, create a lot more opportunities. You know how they just arrange themselves on the pitch. Mm-hmm. It's like a straight line. They play very narrow with the wing backs stretching defense. See the goal that Moses Simon scored, Ademola Lookman scored. See how Moses Simon, very narrow from the half space, was able to, get his way around. And then I just don't understand the defending Angolans did with that. It was like, yes, Osimhen is the big man. He's the target man that everybody looks at. Okay. If you watch how...
I'm sure Edwin will highlight
that. And you could see about 4 or 5 players all moving into the 16-yard box, creating a lot more space for Ademola Lookman to just, get into that space. The cutback from Moses Simon there, and that's it. That's smart footballing. And you could see a lot of these instances from the Nigerians where they create that kind of chance or that kind of opportunity. So it's been smart or efficient football from Nigeria, not flamboyant. There is a job to be done. You look at the Nigerian team, they considered just 1 goal in the whole of the tournament.
Wow. From group stage.
Just 1 goal. And that was the first game against Equatorial Guinea. And that's championship stuff. Being efficient, it's either they win or they are beating you by a goal, or a goal by 2 goals, and then they just get the job done. I've said it before. You just need to score 1 more than the other team in a game, in a tournament game, to win a match. And that's exactly what Jose Pizarro is doing with Nigeria.
Edwin, it's a very interesting point Kwame has raised about Jose Pizarro, a man who was not liked. He's come under a lot of pressure, but out of nowhere, he's managed to guide this team to a semi-final. And I've seen some Nigerians beginning to revise their notes and say that he's not as bad as they thought he was when he took over.
Look, what he's done is he's transformed Nigeria into a very efficient team, as Kwame said. It's not easy to see when you're a Nigerian fan, maybe, to see a team that's filled with such attacking talent being so pragmatic. It's not the nicest football. It's not the easiest football on the eye, but it is very efficient. They go from game to game. Everybody does their work. Nobody overdoes it. Everybody sticks to their roles. They help each other out. And that is how you are going to win tournaments. That is how it is in knockout football. Everyone plays as a team. Everyone knows their roles and they play to their roles. And we've seen that several times from Nigeria in this tournament. They've been very, very solid all the way from the front to the defense. And I think it starts right from the front, right from Osimhen, Lookman, Moses, whoever plays in that front three. The pressing from that front three is exceptional, especially from Osimhen, who seems to have an extra tank of gas in him anytime he needs to. And when you see your front line pressing so well, pressing so high and pressing so efficiently, it just spreads throughout the team. The midfield does it, the defense also does it. And we talk about Nigeria having a very good front line. Yeah. To compensate for that, the defenders who may not be the biggest names, they may not be the most recognizable names, they are working really, really hard to cover up for any mistakes that any of them make. And it's making breaking through their ranks very, very difficult for any team that they face at the tournament. Equatorial Guinea had one moment where they got through the Nigerian defense, they took their chance. Angola had a couple of moments where they broke through the defense, got their chance, but failed to take it. When teams face Nigeria, making chances or creating chances has become very, very difficult. So it's up to them to take the few that they do create. If they don't, then it puts Nigeria in a very advantageous position to get the win, because they know that they have the superior offensive players. Osimhen might not be scoring as many expect, but Lookman is covering up for that with his movements, with his ability to run into space, with how fast he is to run in beyond defenders. And it's the same with Moses Simon. There are two players who are willing to make the runs if Osimhen has to drop deep to hold on to the ball and bring people into play. That attack is working in tandem. We might not see the goals, but we are seeing lots of chances that they are creating. One was ruled out for offside. Yeah. I think Osimhen's header was ruled out for offside. Yeah. We saw that counter-attack late in the game where Osimhen again was denied by a block from Gaspar. So the chances are coming for this Nigerian team. They are not just sitting back and waiting for teams to defend. When they go into games, they come out, they map out a strategy to face any team. Angola came into this game with a set strategy to sit back, allow Nigeria to have the ball as much as possible, and try and counter whenever they have the chance. Nigeria also, knowing that they have quick, pacey players, they passed the ball out quickly whenever they needed to. They didn't dwell on it for too long when they didn't have to. The passes were 1 touch, 2 touch, straight up to the attackers as quickly as they could, because they recognize that in terms of pace, in terms of strength, they have the beating of that Angolan team. And time and again, they got into positions where they could cause trouble. They just need to overcome a certain, can I say, deficiency or problem that they have in terms of the final pass. Sometimes the final pass isn't there. It doesn't come when it needs to. The build-up play is really good, but then the final pass or the decision to take the shots isn't there. But I think throughout the tournament, they've proven that they've been a very efficient team. And any team that comes up against them has to get past not just the defense, but the walls that they've put in front of them in midfield and also in attack. And I saw a report of a supercomputer predicting Nigeria would win the competition.
Yeah.
Based on what I've seen and based on the teams that are left in the competition, I don't need a supercomputer to tell me that. I think Nigeria have been the most effective team in the competition.
I see.
And they have the quality that they need if they need players to turn to. Quality on the bench, quality on the pitch.
Yeah.
If they need to come up with some maybe individual brilliance, if they need some of that spark that other teams have. And I think they're the whole package of the teams remaining in the competition. They seem as though they have everything put together. The coach, as you said, he's starting to turn minds about what he does with this Nigerian team. People are still upset that they aren't seeing the football that this team is capable of. But you don't need to see that kind of football consistently in a knockout competition. You only need to do what it takes to win the game that has been put ahead of you. And I think they've done so well in that respect so far.
All right, the Nigerians doing really, really well, winning that game by 1-0. We'll get to the touchpad. I think, Adam, you wanted to highlight?
Yeah, there are a couple of things I want to highlight. So I'll go up there.
We'll get into the touchpad. But yes, I think first off we'll highlight the Nigerian goal.
Yeah, first of all.
Okay. All right. Then we can talk about Angola and what didn't work for them.
Yes,
because some people were seriously hoping that the Angolans would do a number on Nigeria.
Look, on the face of it, Angola had enough to be boot to boot with Nigeria. They had enough players, enough quality on the pitch. What hurt them was a few defensive errors leading up to the goal for Nigeria.
Okay.
And we take a look at it right from here. I'll slow it down so everyone can get a good look at what's going on. So right from here, Moses Simon takes the ball. There's absolutely no danger at this point. Fine, he has space, but the defender is well ahead of him. So it would take a lot of efforts to get past him in this situation. What the defender has to do is hold his position. Hold his position. Keep Moses Simon from getting anywhere near the goal. And he makes the crucial error of jumping in with the tackle. This is Gaspar, by the way. He makes a crucial error, allows Moses Simon to get around him. And when he does that, it creates so many opportunities for Nigeria. First, Osimhen is in the box. We'll get to Lookman in a bit, but take a look at Osimhen and two defenders around him. This is why having star players and players who are very proficient in their roles in your team is very important. Osimhen draws a lot of attention because of what everyone knows he can do. And once he does that, everyone's attention is on him. Take a look at Lookman, who is right here. Out of shots, there's no way he should be getting to this ball because ordinarily he should have a marker on him right here.
Okay.
This defender should have him covered. What he should be doing is running across, keeping up with Ademola Lookman in order to prevent him from getting a good running on goal. But he fails in this responsibility because his attention is on Osimhen and not on Lookman, not on a player he should be focusing on. So he's running and he sees Lookman's run very, very late. And once that happens, Lookman has the space, so much space to deal with, so much space that the defender can't manage to cover. He gets on the ball, first time shot, and it's in the back of the net. So very, very, so many defensive errors from the Angolans. The players not
Gasper's decision
to jump in with a tackle. These two defenders not keeping an eye on anyone except Osimhen, and then our defender right here allowing Lookman a clean run into the box to take the shot. So Angola made it tough for themselves with this defensive effort, and with Nigeria getting only one goal, this is what cost them the game eventually. So they'll have themselves to blame for that.
Interesting. Kwame, this was the 40th minute in the first half. So effectively, Angola had one whole half to see how they could get back, but they never seemed to find the highs of the previous games. It was almost as though once they conceded first, there they were. They couldn't fight back.
Interestingly, this is the only game Angola didn't score, and they came up against a team that doesn't concede in the tournament. Has conceded just one goal in the tournament. So, what they needed to do was not to commit that error that led to goal. I mean, that's a very perfect analysis. I mean, the player that was running with
Gaspar.
Aside Gaspar, the one that failed to track the run of Lookman. I mean, just look at the eye. They were all looking at Osimhen. And it got to the one that was supposed to even be with Osimhen also had the eye on the ball rather than trying to mark the space very well. So you look at their approach, to the game and everything. They had a perfect approach, especially in the second half where they felt that, okay, we are one down. What do we have to lose? We just have to get in. And you could see in the second half, they had about 65% of the possession. They tried everything, but you are coming up against a very efficient team that has showed you, you could see the heart of Calvin Bassey, Sami Ajayi, Trostekon. They've marshaled the back. Like Kwakufi said, maybe these are players that are not, but these are guys who play for Fulham.
Calvin Bassey's with
Fulham. Bassey has played for Ajax, has played for Rangers. They've seen it all. Trostekon has been in a Premier League with Watford for a very long time. So these are players that know and exactly understand what it means. They've gone through all the training, and these are not players that were trained in Nigeria. They've gone through all the, so they really understand what it means to, stay together as a close-knit unit. Before you even breach that midfield, it becomes very difficult for you. So they tried their best. There was a point where they got a ball and they had to play and hit the post. That was the only opportunity that they had, or they could sniff. And I think there was one ball that hits the post and all of that. So it became very difficult for them. So you are coming up against a team that has been super, super efficient at the back. Well, it becomes very difficult. No matter how many goals you scored, this is a team that has been well drilled so far in the tournament.
I see. Edwin, you wanted to highlight something else.
Look, yes, so Angola's defensive deficiencies affected them. But in the second half, they were on top, 65% of possession. They had their moments, and they had one really good chance that probably should have been taken. And this is what I want to highlight here. So we slow it down again. This is show for Angola and midfield. He plays the ball through to Zine.
Yeah.
And over here, I'd like us to take a look at it. Last week, we had a huge discussion over Magopa and South Africa's goal against Morocco and whether the goalkeeper could have done better.
Yes.
Whether the striker should have taken a touch. What happened in that situation? Yes. I think this is a similar situation. Over here, goalkeeper does not come out in this situation. So much space for the striker to run into, for Zine to run into. Yet, what does he do? He decides to take the shot very early for some reason from this range. This is a very poor decision from him. He could have taken another touch, got closer to goal. There were a couple of options open to him. He takes the shot and it hits the post right here. A chance missed for Angola. I'd like to take it back and let's see the options he had with him. If he takes another touch, he gets closer to the goal. The goal opens up. He has better options to shoot and get the goal against the goalkeeper, who is staying pretty still. He's not moving forward. So you have a chance to take a shot or touch and move forward closer to goal and take the shot. If you are taking the shot, he has a teammate running in on goal that he can square to for him to get the tap in. So a touch would have opened up a couple of opportunities for Zini. He decided to go for the early shots, which if you are a talented player, if you can find the angle, well done to you. But getting it around the goalkeeper's dive,
he couldn't do a Mabulu.
He couldn't do a Mabulu. Exactly. Yes, a few players can do it. He obviously tried to. He couldn't end up getting it around the goalkeeper's dive and into the near post.
It will be interesting. I mean, if for example, if I were an Angolan journalist, I'd like to ask him that at that point where he gets the pass, what's he thinking? Does he feel rushed to make? Because I watched the sequence, and in my mind, I think he feels rushed that I need to take it very quickly because maybe I'm getting closed down by.
You know, that's where experience comes in. I mean, at such a major tournament with a lot of pressure, we are down. We need to get the goal quickly. So the player is probably thinking, let me just make that decision. And all of, upon reflection, I'm sure maybe in the next tournament that they will come, he will be like, okay, I made this error in such a game, and I'll probably correct it. But at this stage, you don't have many of these chances to make such an error. It's just like that. You have to take such decisions within a split second, and I'm sure it was the pressure, the anxiety to get back into the game quickly, and that's what led to him making such a decision.
Well, so an unfortunate chance that could have put Angola back into the game, giving them a chance to qualify.
I don't know whether, because I'm looking at, again, from this angle.
Just took a first touch.
From this
he took one
touch. That's it.
Yeah, one touch.
That was it.
You can't do that. You take another touch. Give yourself a better chance to, compose yourself before taking the shot. He doesn't do that. Takes it very early, which meant he had the whole of the goalkeeper's dive to get around. The goalkeeper has more time to put himself on the ground and make a possible save.
I even think trying to give the ball a little elevation maybe would have helped. But of course, all comes from being a bit more comfortable. So the extra touch kind of
a bit more composed on the ball. If you are closer, the goalkeeper has less time to get on the ground. So you have less surface area of the goalkeeper to hit when you are taking the shots. And he didn't factor that in. As I said right before, if he had taken a touch, it allows his teammate, who is escaping the attention of our left back, by the way. He's escaping the attention, so he has a good chance to make a good run, darting run into. You take a touch, you allow him some time, and the pass is made, and he gets a chance to tap it home. It didn't happen for Angola, and they missed their chance. Defensive errors in front of goal, and Nigeria go through.
Decisions. The Angolans could not take the best one on the day. As we wrap it up, guys, we've seen the Angolan adventure. Kwame and Edwin, I'll ask you the same question. How do you think they will evaluate this? Would they see this as an opportunity missed to maybe make the last four and whatever happens?
I mean, the last time they got to this stage was in 2010 when they hosted. Yes. I'm not too clear, but I think their coach has either
according
resigned,
to some reports,
he's walked away. And that's an opportunity missed, because what we saw Angola provide to us in the tournament was a very, very well-drilled Angolan side, free-flowing football. They knew they had a purpose. It's a team that was also built on the Petro Luanda squad. So what was going through my mind now is should it be that the coach has resigned? How's continuity going to be like? So you don't miss such opportunities. It's a window for you. That's how sometimes these tournaments are. the next year when we go into Morocco, other teams or other countries would have strengthened or would have corrected a few things, and you wouldn't have that opportunity. So you don't always think that at the tournament level or in tournament football, you would always have time to be able to, when such a window opens, you need to get into it. I feel it's a missed opportunity for them.
Same question.
I agree to an extent. I feel that it is a missed opportunity, given that the heavyweights, a lot of them have left the competition. Nigeria, who are the ones left, once you beat them, you put yourself in a very good position of winning the AFCON. They couldn't do that. And for a team that has played the kind of football that they did previously, you would have expected more from them in this game against Nigeria. But then again, they finished top of a group that included Algeria and Burkina Faso. That's no mean feat. Nobody expected them to even qualify from the group as one of the top two. So to do that and then put themselves in a position where teams are starting to look at them as potential dark horses, and the kind of play they showed, the players who've stepped up, Gelson Dala, Freddie, Gilberto, Mabululu, who scored probably one of the goals of the tournament so far. I think that they've put themselves in good lights. They've done well from themselves. It's unfortunate they couldn't go further in the competition, but you can't understate how good they've been at this tournament.
All right, we'll see what happens to the Angolans when the next AFCON rolls around in 2025 in Morocco. I'm sure the Moroccans themselves are thinking about that AFCON, and they are hoping that it will work well than all that they've missed out on since 1976. Let's move on to the other game on our menu. Is DRC versus Guinea. A game that I told some of my guests last week that this game would degenerate into sheer chaos. People did not believe me. Well, it turned out DRC won that game by 3-1. Everybody thought it was going to be a boring encounter. Well, it was anything but boring. Let's see the highlights. All right, Democratic Republic of Congo going through there. Kinshasa and everywhere will be absolutely crazy. Lubumbashi, Kinshasa, wherever, every place in that country will be going agog. I don't know. I'm a little disappointed my panelists from Friday are not here. Just to let them know, I told them. Everybody said, oh, this game would be boring and one goal would win it. I just had a sneaky feeling that looking at the crazy path these guys have taken to get here, I don't think they were going to be interested in another 120 minutes and penalties. No. It was going to be utter chaos. You win, you lose, you go home. Exactly. And that's it. Crazy game, Kwame. I was surprised yet impressed by what I saw. The opening, especially in the second half, the game just opened up and then the Congolese took advantage. I
mean, you hit the nail right on the head, given what they've all gone through, especially DRC in the game against Egypt. They're a team that play very well. They have a lot of quality, actually. So I expected, in fact, they showed what I really expected of them throughout the tournament, because they had drawn all the games that they had played so far. The game against Morocco, and they have a very strong second half. If you watch the game against Morocco, that is where you get to see DRC.
I think they've had to come back.
Exactly.
So they did that against Zambia. Did that against Morocco.
It's in the game against Egypt that they took the lead, and then Egypt had a penalty to equalize. So I wasn't so surprised with that kind of second half that they showed. I mean, they went down, they came back, got a penalty to increase their lead, and then that Masuaku. I think it's something. I was like, oh, bro, we are very familiar with your game.
Did that against Chelsea.
Exactly. We've seen that before, and I don't know if it's what we say in our local parlance, intoms, or it's but it's happened for the second time. So
it cannot be a fluke.
There must be some technique around it. I mean, the way he whips the ball to catch the goalkeepers off guard, because definitely you might think he's trying to, do a pull out for a player to hit, but before you realize it's at the first post and there's nothing you can do about it. So I am very much impressed with the Guinea. For them, it's been a good run. They've had a major problem. They've been quite naive in front of goal. The game against Gambia comes to mind. The amount of chances they missed in that game. Against Equatorial Guinea in the round of 16, it was a very, very tactical game, so not many opportunities came. But in such a game where teams have decided to open up, or both teams have decided to open up and give themselves an opportunity at qualifying to the next stage. You don't miss such an opportunity against a very quality DRC side. I mean, look at the players that they have.
Yeah.
Johan Wissa, very experienced in the Premier League. Cedric Bukambo from Villarreal to now he's in Turkey. I mean, these are very Elia. I mean, these are very experienced players. You don't give such an opportunity to, and when you give yourself, when you leave yourself open up like that, I mean, there is nothing that you can do.
Edwin, just quickly on Guinea, what might have been, because they brought arguably the hottest, the second hottest African forward.
Seydou
Girassi never really got to feature. It's so sad thinking that they had all that quality and injury robbed them of that.
Yeah, it's sad not to see one of Africa's best players at the moment not strut his stuff on this continent's biggest stage. So that was very unfortunate. But I think they have themselves to blame with how they defended in this game as well. We'll go to the touch screen very soon, but I'd like to talk about that Masuaku goal. It was a brilliant goal. I don't have it here. I wish I had because of how special it was. But if you take a look at the replay...
I don't know if my producers can put the Masuaku goal on and maybe we can talk about it.
Yeah, if you take a look at the replay, you can see how it swerved in the air. It went from right to left very quickly, and that deceived the goalkeeper, who took a step to his left instead of his right, and he realized it late. Once he moved to the other direction, it was well past him. So a brilliant goal from Masuaku.
So I think my producer have it. So I think I get you now. I don't know if we can run it back and see if we can slow it down.
Not here.
The first angle.
This angle. This angle. If we can go back a bit.
I think I see.
Significant swerve to the right.
I think the ball swerves just when it starts to climb. Yes.
So the third angle that comes up,
the closer one.
This one, right? The next one that comes up.
Yes.
You can see that it swerves to the left. And that caused the goalkeeper's hesitation. And then a good goal.
What is that? Was it based on technique?
I think it's
absolutely technique. Players practice this on the training ground, how to get the ball to swerve with how they hit it. Do you hit it with the outside of your foot? How hard? A lot of players practice this on the training pitch, and then when they get the opportunity to do that in game, they take that opportunity. We've seen so many players score with this before, and Masuaku is the latest one.
Shout out to Masuaku, is great, but I think that for me, the dangerous part of the free kick, and I think that's what catches the goalkeepers out. The fact that it's so wide, you are expecting a ball to swing in for a header, right? And then this ball starts to bend. And by the time the keeper, you react to it, it's almost in the net. So whatever you do, the ball is gone.
The ball is gone.
It's just bent.
It's a technique. If you remember, just to go a bit off, United Chelsea in the Carabao Cup, the free kick Rashford scored from a distance.
Stamford Bridge.
I mean, you could see how the ball was, the technique that he used to strike that ball. The ball was going, it was as if it was going out before the keeper realized it had bent into Papis Demba Cisse against Chelsea.
Why do Chelsea seem to suffer all these outrageous?
You see the technique he played, the technique he used to play the ball. I mean, the ball was just going, it's as if it was going down. Another one too has to do with Ronaldinho versus
not
England.
Against Chelsea.
No, not against this England against Brazil 2002. David Seaman, he still can't understand how, because he felt the ball was going out. The ball got to the post and it just dipped into it. I think it's technique. These are things that people, like you were saying, I mean, they practice a lot in training. And
I tell Masuaku,
if they don't get it right, it flies.
Then you look very silly.
You question yourself, how did it happen?
You look very silly. You wanted to point out something. We'll talk about the Congolese. So, speaking about the Ghanaians, we've mentioned the naivety in front of goal, and of course the fact that they were robbed of quality. Girassi really couldn't play a lot in this competition, and it's a bummer for them. But let's talk about the Congolese and some of the things you picked up.
First thing, the Congolese. I felt that the referees' decisions in the first half might be considered a little controversial. Officiating at this tournament has been brilliant, as we know, the use of VAR. But obviously, a few decisions can be questioned as well. This one in the first half, should DRC have been giving a penalty kick? There was a huge push on Bakambu here. And he complains later. He doesn't complain at the moment because the ball is heading to Wissa, who has a shot on goal. It goes wide. But afterwards, he runs towards the referee.
Run that back, though. Something just caught my attention. So play it, and I'll point it out. So the ball comes in, goes down there. Look at the Guinean defender.
He's unsure what to do with the ball as it's bouncing.
I'm quite surprised because he seems, I don't know whether he's just
protecting for the goalkeeper.
He's telling the goalkeeper, and the goalkeeper too is not sure. When you play, you move it on. Just move it on. No,
let's play it a little slowly.
Yes, a little slowly. Now, Wissa gets a free shot.
Probably could have scored in this situation.
Okay.
He doesn't. But should they have got a penalty shout? Some might say it's very soft. The push was very soft. But in the context of what we're about to see next, I think this makes a very interesting decision. So I'll speed it up just a little bit. And we have the cross from Diakate into Bayo. And then there's a push, maybe a slight push on Bayo, and he goes down. Referee points to the spot. What's the difference between those two tackles? Very slight contact. The referee gives a penalty for one, doesn't give one for the other. And in terms of the use of VAR, it is pretty clear by now that the VAR doesn't like to contradict the referees too much.
Okay.
If the referee doesn't give it, there's a strong likelihood that VAR won't step in unless it's a huge error from the referee. If the referee gives the penalty, there's a strong likelihood the VAR won't step in to change the decision unless, again, it's a huge error. So over here, I think Guinea benefited from the fact that the referee pointed to the spot in this case.
Okay.
And DRC were let down by the fact that the referee didn't in the other case.
What do you think should have happened? Should you feel that? So assuming you are in the VAR room and you are seeing this, what would you do? Would you, on the second one?
Yes.
On the second one.
Look,
what would you do?
For both of them.
So you'd call the referee to the screen for this?
But the issue is we've become used to the fact that if the referee is called to the screen, it means they are going to change their decision.
Okay.
And I don't think that has worked too well for VAR. We expect the referee to get a full view of what he might have missed and then make his own decisions. But usually the referee changes his decision, sticks to what the VAR says he should, and then that is what causes it. So for both decisions, ideally, VAR should call the referee, tell them, we don't know about this decision. We are not too sure. So you come and make your own call based on the replays, the footage that we have.
Okay.
Then the referee will decide if this first penalty isn't given. I don't think the second one should have been given, and vice versa. If the second one was given, this one should have been given as well. Both were very, very soft touches on the forwards, but significant enough to let them go down. But should they be given? I don't think so. But if one is given, then the other is as well. I think DRC were really hard done by this refereeing decision, in my opinion. The penalty, of course, well taken. We'll see it in a bit. We've talked about the science of penalties and how if goalkeepers stand in the middle of the goal, they are twice as likely to save penalties. Unfortunately, they don't in most cases. Over here, if he had stood, he would have had a better chance of saving it. But the penalty was high. It was straight where most goalkeepers don't do. Perfect penalty to put your team ahead.
Okay. All right. Kwame, your thoughts? First, so the refereeing decisions, and then of course, the second one led to the penalty.
I mean, it's consistency that we are all seeking. I don't see any difference from what happened from that end and what happened at the other end. If it's a push, and it's a push. Yes, exactly. If it's a push, it's a push. I mean, there's absolutely no debate about it. It's getting to a point where some of these calls have become a lot more discretionary, and how the referee feels or thinks about the magnitude of the push or the kind of effect it has. That's also creating all of this, and I feel it's not right. I mean, the law is the law, if there is a push, because you could see that from the DR Congo side, the throw was going directly to Bokambo, and the defender had to push him, meaning he missed an opportunity to get hold of the ball, to perhaps create a chance that leads to goal, or even make a chance for himself and score a goal. And that's a decision that has to be made. Then on the other side, it's just, remember, even this one, someone can argue that it was just a shoulder to shoulder, which is allowed in the game because it's a contact sport. So there is a penalty. So, I mean, some of these decisions, but these are some of the marginal errors that you are likely to see. But these are major decisions that are likely to affect. So like Edwin said, call them to the screen. Let them have an opportunity to see. Maybe, it was just a flash. I didn't see clearly. So that the decision will be made from that point.
Edwin?
Okay, so obviously DRC got an equalizer from a set piece. And in the second half, this is the moment that changed the game. They went ahead through this sequence. And here we can see a player here. He's being chased by a defender. No danger. This player is covering. This is a perfect setup. Everyone has their man except Wisa, who is allowed to run in on goal. But he doesn't come into effect at this moment. As the ball goes on, this defender decides to get close, which is fine. You get close, it's 2-on-1, so higher chance of winning the ball. What he does not do is win the ball. Once you are in this position,
so he goes to win the ball.
Once you decide to step in and help out your teammates, he could have stood back and allowed his teammate to deal with it, and then stepped in when things don't seem right, nearer to the goal. He decides to step in early, and once you do that, and the player gets past you, they have this huge space to run into. So once you step in, you have to win the ball. He steps in, and he doesn't win the ball. He gets a touch, but not strong enough. And then a very silly decision by him, maybe inadvertent. He gets a touch on the offensive player right here, which causes the player to trip himself. The player to trip himself.
That's clumsy.
It's very clumsy defending. Very clumsy defending right from the off, where he approached the defender, the attacker, did not win the ball, and then started chasing him and clipped him, causing the penalty to be won. I'd like to go back so that we take a clearer look, so that there's no doubt in any of our minds that there was a touch right here. Clipped right here.
Okay.
And once the player is in motion, it might seem really slight, but once the player is in motion, he's clipped like that, he trips over himself, and then the penalty is given. There's no controversy there. That is a clear penalty, as clear a penalty as you see. So we speed it up and go to the penalty that is taken by Johan Wisa. He gets into a position, takes a step, sees where the goalkeeper is going, but sticks to his direction. That's the important thing when you're taking a penalty kick. You don't, even though the goalkeeper moved in that direction, he did not change his direction. He went there and he got the goal. And here's DRC 2-1 up. And then puts pressure on Guinea to come forward and come and get the goal. If they don't, they open spaces in behind that DRC can take advantage of. And as we saw as the game progressed, DRC had so many opportunities on the counter to get a third goal before they actually got the third goal from Masuaku. And it was a very good game for them afterwards.
Yeah, and they pulled out the celebration.
Oh, yeah, he pulled out a very, very interesting
They pulled out the celebration. I saw it in person in 2017 when the Black Stars took on DRC. The Black Stars won that game by 2-1, but Ghana led and then they equalized. And I saw that. So, what do we conclude on Guinea? Good run? What could have been? Or fair exit?
Good run. I think they did well to get out of their group in the first place. Facing Senegal and Cameroon, it's not the easiest, but getting out of the group was the target. They did that very well. Getting to the quarterfinals, something that they would have expected against Equatorial Guinea. I know Equatorial Guinea were playing well, but if you are Guinea going up against a team like Equatorial Guinea, you'd fancy your chances. They got there. against DRC, they'd again fancy their chances. A team that had not won, which meant that they were coming into this game as a solid unit, but one that was not used to winning at the competition. So Guinea definitely could have got a result in this game. Their defensive errors, some bad luck got at them, and they couldn't manage it. But as you said, missing one of the hottest strikers in the world at the moment is going to affect any team, and unfortunately it did affect Guinea.
Kwame?
Well, you would expect that get to a better level. With what's... when we were analysing Guinea last week, I talked about how organised they were as a unit and how impressed I was, especially in their first game against Cameroon. And their naivety is what has taken them out. This was the game that they could have fancied their chances, as Edwin talked about. And if you feel... These are some of the windows. I mean, this is the quarter-final that had a different set of countries from the last edition. I mean, so you could fancy your chances. The big wigs are no more there. I wouldn't say they are at par with DRC in terms of quality or anything, but it's a game you could fancy your chances, and unfortunately they didn't take their chance. It was a good run for them regardless. I mean, to be able to get to the quarterfinals of the Africa Cup of Nations. Seydou Guirassy's less involvement actually had an effect on the team. I mean, you have one of the hottest strikers in Europe right now, being an African and being part of your team. You play to their strength. I don't know if it was injuries or it was an issue of fits, or I mean fitting into the team.
I think he came into the competition
with a bit of an injury that did not allow him to, and Naby Keita's injuries also issues also comes into play. So it becomes very difficult in such circumstances. They could have fancied their chances, but I think it was a good run as well.
Let's talk about the Congolese quickly, and then I'll take your thoughts on this. I wonder if they expected to be here, but they are last four. If they win 2 more games, they are African champions. I don't think they've come this close in a very long time. Kwame, let me start off with you. Can you just guess probably what's in their mind right now? You got in a group, you couldn't win a game. There was Morocco, you escaped, you beat Egypt. Now you're here, you win your very first game in 90 minutes. You've made an AFCON semi-final. What do you think they'll be imagining? Do you think now there's pressure on them to maybe do the unthinkable, quote unquote, and make a final?
Any team that has gotten to this point believe they have a chance to win. DRC has won the competition twice, 2 times, and they would think that, okay, there's an opportunity for us to add up to our tally. They would look at the quality they have. They would look at the opportunity presented to them, the teams that they'll be playing, and feel that, okay, we can have a shot at this. So they've placed themselves in a very good position by getting into the semis, and I believe that they should push themselves getting into the final to see what would happen in the final should they get there.
Aaron, should they start dreaming?
Well, having got to the semis, I think they'd be disappointed not to win the competition.
Wow.
As Kwame said, the names that they have, the quality that they have, but they've also faced 2 tournament favorites already and come out unscathed. So that should give them every confidence that they can make it right to the top. They've shown themselves to be a very resilient team, a team that doesn't give up. They have been on the verge of going out a couple of times, but they fought their way back to make it into the knockout round. So I think they'll be very disappointed at this moment with the teams that are left in the competition if they don't win it.
I see. The Congolese, who are they facing in the semis?
Yeah, the Ivory Coast.
Yes.
They take on the mighty Cote d'Ivoire. That's on one hand of the draw. So they're on this other side of the draw.
So if they break the jinx of the Ivory Coast, I think they'll fancy their chances even more. Because once you beat the host nation after the run they've had in the competition.
I mean, but it's interesting, the kind of pressure situations they've had to play through. So facing an exit. So they drew 1-1 with Morocco. They came out unscathed. Took Egypt to a penalty shootout and they won. Should they KO Cote d'Ivoire and they are in the final? And they could potentially take on either Nigeria Wow, it gets really exciting for the Congolese. Like we always said, this AFCON will throw surprises. Maybe the competition has one last one for all of DR Congo getting to win an AFCON. That will be chaos in Kinshasa. You're still watching the AFCON Daily Show. We'll take a very quick break. When we come back, we'll look at the other quarterfinals involving last-minute winners, overheating coaches, and a goalkeeping masterclass in how to save your team in a penalty shootout. We'll be right back. Show proudly brought to us by Bet Power. This is the AFCON Daily Show. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. This is the AFCON Daily Show on Citi TV. My name is Nathan Kwame. Show is proudly brought to us by Bet Power. My guest in studio, Edwin Kwakofi and Kwame Enim Bafo. We are about to talk about South Africa. They took on Cape Verde in a very, very interesting game in the quarterfinals of the AFCON. But just to give us better perspective on South Africa, how the country is feeling after that episode and what they are thinking of as they go into that semi-final and their dreams and aspirations concerning this year's AFCON. I've been joined by Lawrence Koller. Lawrence Koller is a South African football journalist. He's at the AFCON, and so he'll give us some perspective on South Africa, Team SA, Team Bafana, and we figure out a lot more about this particular team. Lawrence, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to Citi TV. Welcome to the AFCON Daily Show.
Thank you for having me, and good afternoon to the viewers of the show.
All right. Thank you so much once again. Initial thoughts after that very dramatic episode against Cape Verde, 90 minutes, 120 minutes. Ronwen Williams had to pull out a save out of somewhere to stop the game from dying out. And then he pulls off those dramatic saves in the penalty shootout. Your thoughts on the performance? It's for us who watched, we were blown away. But what did you make of the South Africans as they went through that game against Cape Verde?
Yeah, it was a very nervy performance. Us in the media tribune as South African journalists, we were really on the edge of our seats for the full 120 minutes. The coach obviously mentioned it was probably our worst performance at AFCON, but we got through to the semi-finals. But I think, obviously, in extra time, we had two amazing opportunities where Wozinha made two saves that, kept them in the game. And obviously, just before the 90 minutes ended, it was an amazing save from Ronwen Williams, which he himself says was probably the moment of the game and his most favorite save of the game, because it was one-on-one with the striker, and he just tipped it onto the post and kept South Africa in the game. We were always confident that he would win us the shootout, because he's a penalty specialist from his days at SuperSport United. We know we can rely on Ronwen for penalties, and obviously he credited the analyst and the goalkeeping coach for the amazing work they did pre-match to help him guess all the right ways of all the penalty takers, which was very challenging for them to find data and videos on many of the Cape Verde players who were scattered all over the planet.
I see. I mean, personally, how did you go through that shootout? Because whilst Williams was saving, the South African players were missing as well.
Yeah, no, look, I mean, like I said, we were confident Williams will always save penalties. It was just a matter of the guys on the other side, keeping their composure. But it all happened so quickly. It was just an amazing night and an amazing feeling for South African people at large. And long may it continue. Not many people expected us to get this far in the tournament, not even our own fans. I guess only the coach and the squad themselves were very confident going into this tournament, because they kept saying it. They said we've done well, we prepared well over the last 2 years, and we believe that we have a squad and team spirit that can take us far into AFCON.
Interesting. Lawrence, let me just stay with you on the part about belief. It's very interesting hearing from you that South African fans did not have too much hope. Why so? Because those of us who watch the team from the outside, and we watch a bit of the PSL, names like Themba Zwane and others, excite all of us. But why is it that South African fans weren't too excited about their own team heading into the AFCON?
There's many reasons, because obviously the underperforming national team over the past 2 decades. I mean, this is our first semi-final since in 24 years. And then also maybe club rivalries. The most popular team in South Africa is Kaizer Chiefs, and not one of their players are in the squad. So there was a lot of negativity around that. And then also we lost to Rwanda. We drew with Lesotho, which was our only warm-up game. There's question marks around the squad selection. Many people feel like some of the best players weren't in the squad. The Lyle Foster situation, Lebo Motiba not being in. Our 3 top goal scorers in South Africa, which are South Africans and eligible, are not in the squad. So the people feel that, the team lacked a lot of attacking threat. And then going into this tournament, believe it or not, our biggest concern was our defense. We felt that our defense was probably our weak link out of the squad. And here we are, 4 clean sheets into the semi-finals. It's amazing to see how they've come together and really stuck it out at this tournament.
Okay, so now that you've made it here, are people beginning to change their minds about Bafana and how far they could potentially go?
Look, I mean, whatever happens now, they're going to receive a hero's welcome. We've not felt this type of support and this type of patriotism in the country for Bafana in a very, very long time. I think the last time we felt this was 2010 World Cup, where, the country is really loving football. People are flocking to buy shirts. People are, they're talking about all the players. Everyone is considered as, a hero and things like that.
Okay.
So whether or not we make it to the final, or even if we come fourth, I feel that the airports are going to be crazy when the team comes back to South Africa.
All right, just finally, Lawrence, South Africa are going to take on Nigeria. Already there's a lot of social media banter and Afrobeats versus Amapiano, all of that. But on the field, how can South Africa beat Nigeria? Nigeria, just like South Africa, have a long run of clean sheets in this competition, defensively solid. Where do you think the game will be won or lost for South Africa when they face Nigeria?
I think Nigeria is it's a tricky opposition because they're the only team that we're gonna face that we faced so far. They're the back 3, so they provide a completely different tactical approach to the game. I honestly think Nigeria, where they struggle with us, is when we keep the ball. They don't like pacey players. We've seen that in the past when they've really struggled against us. It's when we use our pace on the flanks and up front. And if we look at the last 5 results between South Africa and Nigeria, it's pretty even. It's 1 win for each side and 3 draws. So there's no fear going into this game. Obviously, I mean, it's just a task of keeping Victor Osimhen quiet and maybe Ademola Lookman. Moses Simon is also quite tricky to keep quiet. But I feel that, in midfield, we were superior to them in terms of technical ability and even though the players are playing at a higher level, what we see, what we know the capabilities of our midfield. And it's going to be probably one of our toughest games that we've played in many years because, as you said, there is a rivalry between the two countries. Even though the fans of Nigeria might not admit it, between these two countries, there's always fireworks.
I see. Lawrence, thank you so much, and all the best to Bafana ahead of that semi-final.
Thank you very much.
All right, that was Lawrence Kola, South African journalist. He's following the competition up close and personal. He's in Abidjan, works for iDiski. Maybe we should get into the highlights, right?
Yeah.
All right, let's see the highlights of that game involving South Africa and Cape Verde, and I think it will, lead us brilliantly into all the other things. So let's see how South Africa went past Cape Verde in that very nervy last 8 encounter in the AFCON. All right, South Africa getting through via the penalty shootout. They actually won by 2-1 in the shootout. That's a very low-scoring return in the shootout. But, Kwame, let me... we'll talk about Ronwen Williams because that goalkeeping performance is absolutely fantastic. But the game itself, it wasn't boring. It was a lively goalless draw. It was a lively goalless draw.
Cape Verde had 25 shots in that game.
25.
Against South Africa, 16, I think. South Africa had about 6 of them on target. Cape Verde had just 3 of that on target.
So it's not a matter of volume, it's quality.
It's quality. And it tells you the wall that South Africa has built in that defense, making it very difficult for any team to breach. You look at the game against Morocco, you look at the other games that they've played. As Kola rightly said, going into the tournament, they were not noted for that solidity in terms of defense. But getting into the tournament proper, I don't know the kind of spirits that possess them. They look extremely tactically organized. You see, when you're watching the game from an aerial view, you see the banks of two banks or 2 blocks that they've laid. Mm-hmm. You have to breach one before you get to the other. So the Cape Verdeans felt that, okay, we can't breach this defense by working it in there. Mm-hmm. What we need to do is let's take some shots at them. So it's either being blocked or going wide. The few opportunities that they got, that's where the quality of the goalkeeper comes in. And that's what we saw from the game. So in games like this, or for teams to achieve this level of solidity or get this kind of clean sheets, you need that kind of organization, and you need a quality goalkeeper to stop these opportunities when the defense is breached. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what we saw in this game. So you have a lot of shots, but where is it going? The little opportunity that you get, there's a goalkeeper standing right before you to make that kind of saves. And that's exactly what we saw in the game.
Well, the 2 goalkeepers were solid. Vozinha also had his own saves to make, and Ronwen Williams did some great saves, pulled some great saves of his as well. Anyway, we wanted to highlight a few things.
Yeah, you've made mention of the chances that were saved by the goalkeepers. And obviously, everyone who is a neutral would want to see the penalty shootout. Very exciting thing. But there were a couple of moments where either side could have won it outside of those opportunities before the penalty shootout. First thing I would like to point out is this chance for South Africa. And I've been talking a lot about decision-making at this competition, especially for South Africa, who've had a couple of opportunities to, pass to teammates in better spaces to get the perfect goal, but they've passed up on those opportunities. Over here, right from this shot, you can tell that the idea or the ideal situation is to get the ball to Makopa, who is on the right. He's escaped the attentions of the defenders. So the ideal situation is to get it to him, work it to him. And they do that really, really well. Pass back and pass to Makopa. Now he is in acres of space right here. Let's go to where he receives the ball. Obviously, he can't put the ball across. We can see that he can't put the ball across. Go with white. It's going to be offside. The player is well ahead.
Okay.
But there are 1, 2, 3 other players he could aim for. There's also some more space in front of him that he could run into to allow players to run forward. So when you have 4 players in the box, one of them is offside, but let's excuse him for now. You have 4 players in the box. You do not take a shot, especially from this angle. If you take a shot, you have to score. You have to put a lot in it and find the back of the net.
Okay.
If you don't score, then you took the wrong option here. What he should have done, probably taking a touch here, giving him some extra space to move into, and allowed his teammates to get into better positions. That way he can put a ball across into the box for someone, maybe here or into this position for one of these 3 to attack.
Because if you accelerate further down, you move the defensive line.
Exactly. So you have 3 players at least who are in good positions to get a good shot, and goal. He takes the wrong option, decides to go for the shot, and it's woeful. And this is one chance South Africa would have regretted missing if they had not won the penalty shootout. The next chance I'd like to go to Cape Verde. Have won a good opportunity down this left-hand side to possibly get a goal. We let the move go forward. Here he is in a very good position. So many players that are running into the box that he could aim for. The best is probably in this position, the player on the far post, because you have longer distance to get the ball across to him, and he is also free. This player has taken the attention of a couple of defenders, so he is going to have all this space to himself. So if you put it into the far post, you have a better chance of getting a goal in that position. What choice does he make? Very bad pass, but then it gets into an advantageous position. You have a second opportunity to get a shot in. What should this player do in this position? His teammate is ready for the pass. If you are going to make the pass, you put it in the position. If he's left-footed, right here. If he's right-footed, you put it in front of him. So he doesn't have to move too much to get the shot in. Our player again makes the wrong decision of trying to go on his own. He eventually does get the shot in, but it's blocked. A low percentage shot was favored instead of a high percentage shot for his teammates.
That was their captain, Ryan Mendes.
That was their captain, yes. So another chance gone. A second chance for Cape Verde that probably could have been taken. A very good pass, a very good run from the offensive player. The pass gets into him. This has more to do with the level of finishing of the player. You've talked about Mabululu. We already had our chance in the first shot. But the player's, his body shape is totally wrong in this position. First of all, if you are not confident enough to take this shot, your first touch should take you across this defender. It should take you across so that the defender cannot put in a tackle. If he does, it's a penalty. If he doesn't, you now have the clear look at the goal to aim for. So you can take a shot. It's in blue, so we go for blue here. So you can take a shot from this area without the defender being in your way. You don't have to be very adept at curling the ball into the back of the net. Now you have a straight shot at goal. He doesn't do that. He attempts to go for the curler, and he gets it totally wrong. This, right now, you have a good angle, but his body shape does not allow him the space to get a good curl on it. So instead, the shot goes in a wrong direction. While when it should be going in this direction, when it should be going here, it ends up, where does it end up going? Straight at the goalkeeper. Because he doesn't get his angle right. You need to be a little wider, unless, of course, you are Mabululu. You need to go a little wider to be able to get the
great Thierry Henry would.
Exactly.
Because to execute lots of the goals he scored, you need to be wider.
You need to be wider in order to get the curl in. But I felt that he missed the trick by not running in front of the defender. If he had done that, he gets a good chance to score, but also takes out the defender who ends up putting too much pressure on him and getting the goal. So a couple of opportunities for Cape Verde that they missed to prevent the game from going into extra time, but also one miss for South Africa as well. And that is where the fine margins are. If you don't take your chances, you end up leaving it to fate, and that's what happened to Cape Verde.
Well, we didn't get that, but my mind goes back to the save Ronwen Williams makes. And Vuzinha makes a similar save. But that Ronwen Williams is just one-on-one. Ball comes in, it cuts from the right. Player gets it, touches it first. Like, he connects first. Yeah. Brilliant goal. Like, I'm still blown away by Williams' save.
I mean, it's all about how you make yourself bigger. First, you get very close to the player. And then your orientation has to be such that let me reduce the amount of space of where exactly he's going to play the ball. And that's why strikers normally go through the legs of the goalkeeper when they are faced with such a situation, because when the goalkeeper gets close to you and extends the body,
you can't go either side.
Unless you lob which they can't do anything about, or you go through the legs, or you try a shot that goes through the armpit.
Yeah.
But the moment the goalkeeper gets there and makes himself bigger, it becomes very difficult. So it reduces the chance of you trying to connect the ball into the post. And that's excellent goalkeeping from the player at that point.
Excellent goalkeeping from Ronwen Williams. But this is what I've been talking about. As a goalkeeper, if you are faced with such a situation, you either commit to coming out or you don't at all. And what he did was he did not hesitate when he was coming out. He committed to it, made himself big, and was able to make the save. And that's fantastic goalkeeping and very assured goalkeeping as well.
I mean, like you're saying, you either stay home,
yes,
or you come. And when you come out,
you
have to try.
You have to try and make the save.
And you know, that's the contrast between the Angolan one, where the goalkeeper failed to come out, but the player made a very bad decision. And this one, where the player made a correct decision by getting close, but the goalkeeper was there to
very decisive,
very contrasting decisions.
Yeah, decisions. You know, fingertip save, goes off the bar. And it's almost. I mean, I watched the game to that point, and after that save, I was just telling myself that this game will be settled in the shootout, because if you score that and it's game over, it's gone. And it kind of lifted the South Africans, almost lifted Williams, and it put more pressure on the Cape Verdeans. Now they had to find a different way. Shout out to the two goalkeepers, though, Vozinha and Williams. I thought they played out a good game.
Yes, an interesting thing to note, for just one slight thing from the penalty shootout. We talked about the art of penalties, and guess which shirt Ronwen Williams was wearing?
The art of penalty.
Red.
Yes.
Goalkeepers in red and yellow have a higher chance
goalkeepers in red
of saving in penalty shootouts. And Ronwen Williams clearly chose the right color for the situation.
Interesting stuff there coming in from the South Africans. Tomorrow's episode of the AFCON Daily Show, we'll get into the shootouts. Several shootouts have happened in this competition. We'll talk about the penalties, the numbers, the signs, the patterns, trends, just to give viewers a great idea of what's happening from the sport. We'll get into that on tomorrow. So do join us tomorrow for another episode of the AFCON Daily Show. Guys, as we wrap it up on this game, we'll talk about the drama, because we've saved the drama for the last part, the Ivorians. How do you think Cape Verde must be feeling?
An opportunity missed. But it's a good run as well. I'll put them in the same bracket as Guinea. An opportunity missed. It's a good run. They have something to build on going into the next tournament. Now, people would not treat them as underdogs going into the next tournament again, and that's an entirely different test that comes in the next competition. But to be in a group with Ghana, Egypt, to qualify out of that group,
top
spots. I mean, not losing any game as yet. They didn't lose any game in regulation time in the tournament. They lost the game on the penalties. That tells you how solid they are. They had a clear pattern of football that they were playing. They created a lot from cutbacks. Yeah. If you watch their pattern, I mean, you watch their game and you have a clear idea the kind of football they are trying to play and all of that. So that's a plus for them. Unfortunately, they couldn't, advance to the semi-final, which they will feel is an opportunity miss because, like we've said consistently, a lot of the big guys are not available at this point. So when you miss such an opportunity, you think that, how did this happen? And that's exactly what that's going to go through their mind. So it's an opportunity missed, but there's something to build on for Cape Verde.
And then I'm sure, I don't know what about you, for me, my enduring memory of Cape Verde is a team that took a lot of shots at goalkeepers.
Well, it's a strange situation. I think they've done a fantastic job. When the groups came out, I picked, obviously, Ghana and Egypt to go through. I didn't think Mozambique or Cape Verde would even make it into the top three finishers, the top third-place finishers. To top the group that has Egypt and Ghana is a huge achievement. Obviously, maybe the round of 16 game was probably a given. They had to win that one. They were favorites for that one. And to come into this game and be a penalty kick away from winning and going into the semi-final, they'll have good lasting memories from this competition. And I hope they learn lessons from it, where they faltered, their decision-making at times, and build on it for future competitions. And we like seeing the Cape Verdean fans as well.
Oh, yeah, we do.
I think we all
we do.
Seeing
They
them.
We do. They
They
added color and life.
They added a lot
So,
of color.
yeah,
And
you know.
they've done well for themselves tourism-wise.
Yeah, it's true. I'm telling you, lots more people will be going to that's what I know. CAF, we beg you, give Cape Verde an extra ticket to the next AFCON because they'll make everybody happy. But come on a serious note, you were talking about the fact that it's great for them, they'll come back. They were one of the oldest teams in the competition, and I think an average age of about 29. So what does this mean? Is this the last time we are seeing some of these guys? Or the fact that the AFCON is just next year? It's just a quick turnaround.
It's added experience for them. They know what to do going into the next AFCON. I mean, thinking about the number of shots they've played in this tournament, like you said, a country that is noted for shots, it tells you that's an area of strength for them, that maybe perfecting those shots and all of that, it's going to help them. But they've made a very good decision. They've played very well throughout the tournament. A lot of experience for these players that came into the tournament. It's just next year. They will know exactly what to do when they come. They qualify for the next edition of the Cup of Nations. All
right, we'll see if the Blue Sharks of Cape Verde can make it to another AFCON in Morocco in 2025. Let's talk about the host nation. They are hosting now, and they had to go through more drama. It looks like Ivory Coast run or Cote d'Ivoire's run in this competition, almost like a soap opera. We'll get into the highlights in a bit there, but let's get back to the Zoom. Okay, we'll get back to the Zoom in a second. But let's see how the Ivorians made it through to the semi-finals of the 2023 AFCON. I have no words to describe what they did. You just watch the highlights. Wow, welcome back. I'm still very stunned and quite surprised that the Ivorians are still here. It's like they are like a cat. They've got 9 lives. They've used 7.5. It's left with 1.5. Before they exit the competition. They could go all the way. You never know. You never, ever know. Let me get to the Zoom. Let me speak to John Boafo. He has experienced the highs and lows of the competition. And maybe he will let us know how Cote d'Ivoire is reacting to all these craziness we are watching from the AFCON. John, good afternoon and many thanks for joining us once again.
Good afternoon, Nathan. This smile on my face is here for a reason. I mean, what a game, what a game. The miracle of Boaki still lives on. The effects on the levels of happiness of people living in Cote d'Ivoire are immense.
I see. It's almost like the Ivorians have gone through, in French, what we call a feuilleton, like a soap opera. It's been drama all the way from beginning to this point, I'm guessing.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, it was a game of 2 halves. In the first half, Cote d'Ivoire really struggled. They ended up being dominated in a midfield of very talented Malian players, and that really led to numerous chances from Mali. Let's talk about Kosunu. Kosunu had really a shocker of the first half. He first of all gave away a penalty in the first half that ended up being chopped off because of VAR, there was VAR saw an offside and that was chopped off. And then he gave away another penalty in the 16th minute, which thankfully Yaya Fofana was able to save. And then at the end of the day, on the 43rd minute, he ended up with a red card and he was sent packing, which meant that Coach Emas Faye had to make some changes, take off Nicolas Pepe, and the team ended up playing more than 80 minutes with 10 players versus 11.
Wow, that was quite intense. How was the fan reaction to Kosunu's performance, the sending off, and the fact that Cote d'Ivoire had to play a large part of that game one-man short? What was the reaction of the fans as all these incidents were happening?
So there was a lot of up and down when the penalty was conceded. Well, when the first penalty was conceded and then chopped off by VAR, people were just jumping up and down, so excited about VAR helping the team be able to not concede that goal. And then when that first goal was scored, then when the second penalty was conceded, the same kind of thing was there. People were kind of nervous until Fofana saved that goal, and then there was a sense of delight. There was a sense of also hope that maybe it was Lady Luck was on Côte d'Ivoire's side today. And then after the red card, people really were very nervous. There was a sense of nervousness in the air, as if they had dodged 2 bullets, but at the end, it caught up with them on the third time around. So a lot of people were saying that Cotonou was playing with some kind of nervous energy. It probably didn't help the fact that Bouaké was virtually full. 836 people were at the game out of a capacity of 40,000. And the running joke is the 144 people probably just missed the bus or the train to be able to get to Bouaké that day.
Wow, it was a very full atmosphere. So at this point, Côte d'Ivoire are down. Lovely goal from the Malian player. From the video, I could see he did not want to celebrate. I don't know if you've picked up any info on why he didn't want to celebrate a Malian goal against Côte d'Ivoire.
So he didn't want to celebrate because Nene, I forget his last name. It was actually an Ivorian player. So he changed his nationality to Mali. He was born in Côte d'Ivoire, and so there was a sense of, kind of similar to when players play against their old clubs that, yes, they're happy to score, but they also feel bad because potentially they're kicking out their beloved team. So that's the reason why he didn't want to celebrate. But there is also a sense of rivalry and brotherhood between both teams, Mali and Côte d'Ivoire. You have players like Yves Bissouma, who was born in Côte d'Ivoire, who is also now playing for the Malian team, and there was a couple other players in the same kind of case. So there's a proximity between these players, and the players also know each other, because you would have seen at the end of the game, some of the Ivorian players went to console and also congratulate the Malian team on their performance. So there's a closeness between both teams, but at the end of the day, it's the Ivorian team that ends up going into the semifinals.
In our previous interview, I asked you about fan reaction, the chaos, the parties, everything that happened. I'm sure it must have been 2 or 3 times bigger when the final whistle went, because the Ivorian second goal was virtually at the death of the game. So how did Bouaké and virtually the rest of La Côte d'Ivoire react to this amazing result for the Elephants?
Yeah, like you said, it was an amazing result for these Elephants. And Simon Andigra at the end of the game said, "We refuse to die twice." They were given that first chance for qualifying into this stage from the group stages as one of the 3rd best teams. And we saw a sense of abnegation and passion on the field, which was also translated to the fans. I was in one of the fan zones in Trècheville, and people were just going mad. I posted a video of people picking up the chairs that they were sitting on, just celebrating, throwing chairs around, hugging people. There were a couple kisses. There were a couple making fun of the Malian fans that were also present. But after the game was over, you could see all over the city, from Trècheville to Zone 4 to even places like Bouaké, people just out and celebrating. So I think that the passion that the players were able to show from playing over 80 minutes, 10 minutes versus 11, was then transmuted to the fans, and they celebrated like it was the last day, as if they had won the final. So they're only, in theory, more than 180 minutes from winning that 3rd star, and everyone in the country is really backing them to push through.
All right, just finally, John, before this competition, you and I had a conversation, and you were telling me about Emers Faye and how people in La Côte d'Ivoire perceive him because of his work with the under-23s that didn't go too well. What are people saying about Emers Faye now taking over the team when the head coach was sacked. He's guided them to the last 4 of an AFCON when it didn't look like they were going to get here.
He's getting a lot of pundits and plaudits. People are really excited about the impact that he's had on the team. So even in this game, it's the 2 subs that he brought on, Diakité and then also Simon Ndigra, who made an impact on the game. So Simon Ndigra came on the 86th minute and scored 4 minutes after, basically at the end of the game to be able to push through to push the team through to the extra time. And then Diakité also scored in the 119th minute to be able to qualify the team to the next round. People are also applauding his sense of calm. And you could also see him from the touchline as if he was reliving his years as a player as Nantes and in other places when Sébastien Haller went up and head the ball against the crossbar. You could see that he was feeling it and he was there as if he was on the pitch with the players. So people are loving his passion. People are loving his cool-headedness. You can see it in the way that he comports himself before the game and also at the press conferences where he's calm and collected, which is something that he's been able to transmit also to the players, and the passion he's able to transmit to the players. He's able to show the players that their performances have really ignited the passion of the Ivorians, and they need to do everything that they can to win the next game and then also potentially win the final.
All right, just finally, quickly, game was played on Saturday. Is Côte d'Ivoire still partying after that encounter? Are people living at work? What are people doing in response to the madness of Saturday night?
So funny enough, yesterday being Sunday was a very, very calm day. Usually it's a calm day because people will go to church, people will relax, but it seemed like church was optional yesterday and that people were just coming out of clubs, people were coming from celebrating, and it was a very calm day. And then today seemed like even a slower day. People were coming a bit later to work. Maybe it's just the coming down from the high of such a fantastic win, the miracle in Bouaké. But I believe by tomorrow and probably even this afternoon, people will be back to their normal lives and looking forward to the game against DRC Congo on Thursday.
All right, John, thank you so much. Congrats once again to Les Éléphants. They've made the semi-final. I'm sure the next time we'll speak, I hope that the next time we'll speak, we'll have more drama to talk about.
Yes, I think we'll have some drama. Hopefully it's good kind of drama. And that Les Éléphants are able to make it to the final.
All right, John, take care and thank you so much once again.
Thank you.
All right, so that was John Boafo, sports analyst. He lives in Abidjan, experiencing the highs and lows of the tournament. We'll get to the touchpad in a second. Let's look at the reaction. I'll get to my guys, but let's look at what the newspapers, and I love this because it gives you a very good idea of what the local press are saying about the competition. And you won't get this on other programs, trust me. So this is I'm trying to get the name of the newspaper, but of course this is the middle page, one of the pages in there. They say L'Image. Sport Plus. They talk about the pictures of La Côte d'Ivoire and Mali. You can see 6 pictures in there as well. And then on the other page, so we've moved on. Le Jour says, Les éléphants font pleurer les Maliens. It says, the elephants made the Malians cry. This is very interesting. And there you see the meme. This has become one of the memes of the competition, in addition to Anselm Santos's moment of indiscretion there. But there you have it. Let's move on to the other papers. It says, Le secret du miracle ivoirien. It says, the secret of the Ivorian miracle. The paper goes in to talk about the various aspects of the team. This is the Fraternité Matin, and that's on their front page as well. Yes, Super Sport, they say, hold up du siècle à Bouaké, the hold up of the century at Bouaké. Il y a Dieu dedans. It says God was involved, so they are looking to a higher power. This one is Le Nouveau Éveil. It talks about, it says, Éléphant, un deuxième miracle s'est produit samedi à Boaké. It says, a second miracle happened on Saturday at Boaké. So they look at it from the perspective of the miraculous or the impossible. The Soir Info says, Éléphant, performance XXL. So they say this is an extra large performance. And that's that. You have some leading figures in the Ivorian sport also commenting. There are pictures there, and it says, merci aux Ivoiriens et aux amis de la Côte d'Ivoire. Bravo à nous. Congrats to everybody who's Ivorian. Congrats to the friends of Côte d'Ivoire, and it's congratulating everybody. Another paper, I think it's still Fraternité Matin inside the paper. It says, le hiérarchie respectée. So the respected order. So they talk about the order in the team. MS5 says, tactiquement, on a été très bon. He says, tactically, they were great. I don't know which tactics they were playing, but they are here. So he can say anything he wants to say there as well. And then Diakite's picture, and then some of the other papers, ces éléments clés de la victoire des éléments. Talks about the key people who play the key part. So 6 pictures in the goalkeeper, MS5, Adingra, and some of the other guys who are in there. So you can get a feel really of the Ivorians and what they are saying, bravo, blah, 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 blah. But Kwame, as the game wore on, I thought about something you said the other day, and I think it's very true. This sense of pride, belief, determination. They were one man down. They had to play against Mali. They conceded in addition, but fought back to win by 2-1. If you don't have belief, of course, some tactical nous is needed. But if you primarily don't think you are good enough to do this, or if you don't feel for your country and say, we are in a fix, we need to do something to save ourselves, you can't get past such a very difficult situation.
I mean, like I also said, I don't know how far I can take them, but that's the basic requirement at this point. It's just a collection of stars at this point. You don't see the tactical intricacies that Mali, on the other hand, were showing us that how they were progressing the ball, their dominance and everything. The Ivorians had heart, and they decided that, you know what, we won't go down without giving it our last fight. And you could see from Fofana to the last player that came on at that point, Simon Adingra, they said that we're not going to give up on our nation at this point. And they kept fighting and fighting and fighting. It wasn't like the goal was a well-worked goal or something. It was just, let's just throw everything at it and let's see what we can be able to get out of it. Nadingra was there to be able to, get that goal. So I'm not so surprised at what I'm seeing, because a man that has, there's a popular quote by Frank Kessier where he talked about the fact that they've died. So, I mean, they are ghosts now. What do they fear? They fear nothing. There's absolutely nothing to fear. They give it
Isn't there a quote from, it's a Game of Thrones?
Perhaps. But he said that.
Whatever is dead cannot die again. Something on the sword.
They died, and that's it. So that's exactly what I was very much impressed again by.
I think the quote is, for the dead may never die.
Exactly. The dead may never die. I mean, that's it. They were dead from the group stages. At this point in time, what do they have to lose? Let's just fight for our nation, and that's exactly what we've seen them doing so far. Interesting.
Edwin, just quick thoughts before we touch on that. For the Malians, this must be galling, because one man up, one goal up, at the death, you throw it. It's not even like they were dragged to a penalty shootout, but they seem to lose the plot quite strangely towards the end.
Yes, they did. And I think this match especially speaks to the importance of fans. I think the fans really got on the sides of their players, and the Malians just couldn't handle the intensity of the support that was coming from the entire stadium. John didn't talk about it, but the noise that the fans were making, they were shouting, they were jumping, they were singing throughout the second half. And when you are a player and you are in such an atmosphere, sometimes it affects you. And it did affect them eventually in that game. They had so many chances to score in that game. They failed to take them. And right at the end, it's up to your players to stay focused, stay concentrated. And unfortunately, they couldn't.
I see. You wanted to highlight a few things on the touch.
Yes, I do. But before that, I think this tournament is a social experiment to see the variations of headlines the Ivorian newspapers come up with the words like miracle and heart. It's a social experiment to see how many variations.
All kinds of things. The miracle of Boake. They said there was God in there.
Well, it almost went really bad for them very early on. And he was talking about Kusunu, who had probably one of the worst first halves I've ever seen a player have. And it starts right from here in this sequence. We see it progress. Mali have the ball from a set piece. Eventually, the ball is played into Niakate. His shot it hits the arm of Kusunu. So, ordinarily, that's clear. It should be a penalty. However, this was not given, and this is why. We head to a VAR screen where we'll see why it was not given. So we pause it here. Niakate, who eventually takes the shot, is offside in this situation. Position. So even though the ball comes off an Ivorian player eventually, the initial shot saw him offside. So once he touches the ball, he's back in active play, and that is an offside decision. That's one thing I wanted to point out.
Okay.
And Kusunu,
so good spot by the VAR.
Good spot by the VAR. And Kusunu, obviously, he handled the ball. That was his first offense. He was let off. This time, he wasn't let off, and it almost cost his team yet again. So over here, we can, as the play goes on, we can see him here, right here. Let me point him out right here. Here he is on the ball. Behind him is Malian player, he's in white, Malian player Sinayoko. This very huge lack of awareness by Kusunu. Sinayoko makes a move right from behind him and gets in front of him without Kusunu making an actual move in this case. And he reacts so late to the move of Sinayoko that he's caught on the back foot. And then he allows the ball to bounce over him, and he makes the foul.
They say never let the ball bounce.
Never let the ball bounce in such a position. I don't know why he's complaining. That's as clear a penalty as you'll ever see. Look. So why does he not get sent off? Ordinarily, he's the last man.
Yeah.
Sinayoko would have had a clear running on goal. So there's this double jeopardy rule FIFA has come up with, that if the defender is the last defender, he concedes the penalty. You do not give a red card unless the tackle was very dangerous. Clearly, you can see that he does make an attempt to win the ball. However silly it was still an attempt to win the ball. So a yellow card is given for this. He doesn't concede a red card, a straight red card in this position. Now, this penalty by Traore, a horrible penalty. Good save by Fofana, who we're talking about his penalty deficiencies. But this is a horrible penalty from Traore. He tries to go to the goalkeeper's left, his right. That's what he decides to do. First of all, we don't get a clear picture of this, but his eyes give the direction away pretty clearly from the start. So the goalkeeper knows where he's going from the off. Then he tries to go into the corner. He doesn't succeed in getting it right in the corner. So it's more towards the middle. Allows Fofana to make a pretty easy save. And a missed chance for Mali to take the lead. It's not right in the corner. If you are going to the corner, make sure it's as close to the corner of the goal as possible. It's more to the middle of the goal. And Fofana makes a good save in that situation. So now we go to the goal that was scored by, the penalty that was given to Mali. I think we've already seen that. So we go to the goal that was scored by the Ivory Coast.
Okay.
Go to the goal that was scored by the Ivory Coast. And in this situation, you look at it here. First of all, the Ivory Coast are down by a man in this situation already. Mm-hmm. So they have, Mali has all the advantage. How many players do they have in and around the box? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 players in or around the box against 1, 2, 3, 4. You have an advantage.
Mali should be winning that 6 on 4.
6 on 4. You should be winning that. But the problem comes with this defender right here. This defender right here. He's focusing on the wrong things. And we've seen that a lot from defenders in this tournament. Focusing on the wrong things. He's looking here when he should be tracking Fofana. Tracking the movements of Fofana in this case. He's here. Everyone has their man. And as we play it, we'll see it in a better lens. So this is the sequence right here. This defender has this man covered. There's no danger here. This player, these two players have Adingra covered. There's not really any danger. So you'd expect this defender to have his man covered as well, so that there's no chance of him causing any problems. What he decides to do is goes to join, makes the move to join these players, leaving Fofana on his own. So Adingra, obviously sensing Fofana on his own, makes the pass to Fofana, and he's able to take the shot. Adingra gets a bit of luck, and he finds the back of the net. This is a purely defensive error from the Malians. If he had covered his man, there was no way Fofana gets as good a shot as he does. He forces his teammates to run into that position, leaving more space for Adingra to run into. And the Malians concede, which was a crucial goal because it ended up taking the game into extra time, where Ivory Coast got the winner. So defensive errors for Mali cost them in this game. A failure to take their chances when they got them. And the Ivory Coast had a bit of luck, a lot of luck actually, into this game. And they are in the semi-final. Who knows how far their luck will carry them.
You're right. Who knows how far it will take them. But Kwame, I'm sure the Malians will wake up on Sunday morning and they'll ask themselves, how did they let this chance? Because everything had lined up for them. 1 man up, 1 goal up, all of these things. I'm sure of all the teams that have exited, probably they will be the most disappointed.
That's why we saw the coach having an overheating in the human form. I mean,
he needed all the water.
A car overheats, we need water to cool it and all of that. But this was overheating in a human form. He just can't wrap his head around everything that happened in the game. It was quite unfortunate that... And you look at the timing of the goals that the Ivory Coast scored. The first goal they scored, or the equalizer they had, was just about a minute away from the game ending. Then we come to the extra time goal. A minute or some seconds to the game ending. And that's exactly where things happen for them. What does it speak of them? Your mentality. You have to be switched on from beginning to the end in football, because goals are not scored in minutes. In a split second, something can happen. We've seen goals. I mean, any sort of blunder can happen. So from the analysis that Edwin just made, you could see, how can you have 6 men in the box and still allow them to have that level of space or that amount of space for Adingra to get his leg to the ball? Even that ball, they had about 2 or 3 players surrounding the ball, but Adingra was still able to find his way to be able to hit the ball into the post. So clearly you would think about all of these things and you would ask yourself, how did it go wrong? They made it go wrong for themselves. Like I've said on other platforms, the coach had a certain mentality coming into the tournament.
He said wanted respect.
Respect. I mean, go in and win the tournament. You have all of these things. I mean, what respect in the game do you have? Getting to this stage doesn't necessarily grant respect. We know Mali. We know what we expect of them. Yes, they've flattered to deceive us in tournaments. But looking at the kind of football they've played so far, you'd expect that they go a lot more forward, or they advance.
They've already earned everybody's
exactly.
respect.
So just go ahead and do it.
Interesting.
That's unfortunate.
Well, the Malians will be very bitter and sad at their exit. The Ivorians, as you can see, are delighted. On Wednesday, they go at it again, hoping that they can go through another 90 minutes, maybe 120 minutes, maybe a penalty shootout to see if they can book a place in the AFCON that they are hosting. We'll catch you tomorrow with another exciting episode, though, of the AFCON Daily Show. Let me thank my guests, Kwame Bafo and Edwin Kwakofi. Let me thank everybody who joined us on the Zoom. Let me thank you out there for watching. It's been fun having you along. Tomorrow, we are back with more chit-chat concerning the AFCON on this show, the AFCON Daily Show. My name is Nathan Carl. Show proudly brought to you by Bet Power. We'll be back tomorrow with another one on this network. We'll catch you then. Enjoy the rest of your day.